Joining us now, longtime friend of the show. He is the voice of the Pacific Tigers and the AAA Reno Aces as well. Zack Bayrouty back on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Zack, welcome back to the show, man. Hey, you've had some changes in your life. You got a new baby in the house. How are things?
Thanks for having me, fellas. Yeah, big changes. Nora Adele Bayrouty was born just about 4 weeks ago, and she's become the love of our lives, and she's just the best little thing that's ever come on this earth. So everything is great. It's actually kind of a blessing in disguise for me that I'm able to be home with her now. Although it's, I wish things weren't so different. There's a silver lining for us. Let's put it that way, because we get to spend time with our little girl.
All right, so Zack, both Spencer and I each have 4 children, so obviously a little bit of catching up to do. But have you
each?
We each have 4 kids. So no, but here, have you had in the short 4 weeks that you've been a father, have you had like a dad moment that you look back like, yep, I'm officially a dad? Because we all have those.
There was the moment of utter exhaustion when we were at the hospital when she was born. And it was like, 24 to 48 hours into my fatherhood. And the doctors and nurses, God love them, they kept coming in, they poke and prod and check on her every half hour. And, just when you think you're going to get maybe an hour or 2 of sleep, they come in and your sleep is disrupted. And there was a period where I had like 1 hour of sleep in the last 40. And I was like, man, I don't know if I could do this anymore. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're just at the starting line. And I had to kind of give myself a pep talk to get through it. But once we got through that rough patch, it was all good. I'm sure you guys can relate. God love you. I have the bandwidth maybe for 2, but 4 is like next level kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're doing yet, Zack. But if it makes you feel any better, my latest child was born on December 29th, so I'm very much in the same category as you right now. And
Congrats, Spencer.
Thank you. I know that the sleep schedule is certainly stressed, and it doesn't make it any easier that now you're kind of like, oh yeah, I'm the play-by-play voice of the Pacific Tigers, and oh, there's a game on Saturday, so I guess I'm going to Provo. Do you have plans on Saturday, Zack?
I had plans to be here when St. Mary's was coming to town. So I had the day blocked off. I don't know if I quite had it blocked off to be in Provo, but I guess here, there, wherever. At this point, it doesn't matter. A game's a game, and I'm excited to be able to do a game whenever one comes up.
Give us an idea of what this team is like this year, and maybe that's difficult for Coach Stoudemire to even figure out at 5-3, and you had so many games that have been canceled or postponed. What type of team is this Pacific Tigers team?
I don't know. I know I'm on here for some deep insight, and guys, I really don't know. And to be honest, to be really quite frank with you, we played, I think it was 4 games in the non-conference. One of them was against a Division II opponent in Westmont College in Santa Barbara. So there was not a great sample size of games before we had to shut it down for a COVID pause. There's really not a great sample size of practice. So before we played Santa Clara, I was interviewing one of our assistant coaches, my usual pregame scout interview for the radio. And after we, ended the interview, he and I were chatting, and he was like, I really don't know what to expect here. I mean, we hadn't practiced. We had a 24-day COVID pause. Before that, we really hadn't had a chance to practice. It's a pretty new group of guys. I mean, Jaleel Tripp, you guys remember him from last year. Now with the Memphis Grizzlies, like he was our guy last year, and you knew that no matter what happened, you'd have Jaleel be able to get you some buckets and get you 20. We just don't know if we had that guy this year. There's a chance we do. There's a couple of guys who are candidates to be able to be that player, but as far as being a cohesive unit, trying to figure it out, and they came out and scored 14 points before 3 minutes had elapsed versus Santa Clara. They turned the ball over 22 times against LMU and found a way to come back and win. And then, then the road trip last week, which was a disaster, going to Pepperdine and losing, being down by 35 at one point. And then, of course, you have to follow that up with going to Spokane, which is not what you want after losing, by 35 at Pepperdine. So you have yin and yang. You have 2 extremes, and we're trying to figure out where this team lies in somewhere in the middle, I'm guessing.
All right, Zack, so to update BYU fans, let's talk about some of those potential stars for the Tigers that you say could step into the role that Jaleel Tripp filled so nicely for what felt like forever, I'm sure, as he took it to the West Coast Conference for a long time. So who are the guys right now that you think might be the ones that BYU fans should watch out for?
So there are two candidates, Jeremiah Bailey, who had scored in double figures in every game, I think, up until LMU. And he's really transformed his body. He took his conditioning seriously in the offseason. He's slimmed down, and all the work that he's put in has really showed. He's had a great motor, and he's been scoring a bunch. And then Danis Jenkins, who's a sophomore out of Dallas, Texas. He's going to be a very talented scorer in this league for the next few years. Those two, I think, are at the top of my list right now. Maybe some other guys come up behind them and make a case. I mean, Brock Finstoon's been kind of a junkyard dog kind of guy. He's been all over the place. Jeremiah Bailey and Danis Jenkins have been the two guys that Pacific has counted on to score the basketball up until this point.
You know, Zach, one of the things that we've been talking about on this show over the last couple of days is the conference tournament, and Mark Few and his athletic director. You know, there have been some quotes coming out about whether or not the tournament should even be played. What's to gain? What's the priority? Is it, getting as many a third team in, or is it protecting the teams that are already in? What are your thoughts on the conference tournament and whether or not it should be held, should it be modified, any of those scenarios?
It's really tough to put everything into context. I guess you start from a place where the West Coast Conference probably took it on the chin more than any other conference in terms of what it meant last year, having, three teams that really were going to the NCAA tournament, and then to not have the tournament, to lose out on all that revenue. I get that the WCC wants to, protect its bids and all that. But, I heard you guys talking about Pepperdine a little bit earlier, and no disrespect to you guys, but I mean, ask Colby Ross if he thinks the conference tournament shouldn't be held. Ask Cam Edwards. Like those are two all-conference, all-league players who are you can make the argument, top five players in this league. So I think that there are players around the league that deserve a chance to compete in the conference tournament. I don't think outside of Gonzaga that there's much that is a done deal. I mean, Gonzaga is the consensus number one in the country and in this conference. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think that canceling the conference tournament or not allowing teams to make a case is the way to go. I mean, San Francisco beat Virginia earlier this year, and I know it's a weird year, but are we going to have a season or not? There are teams that are going through this like every other team. It's not easy for a team like Pacific to have to get on a plane, travel this weekend, and come back. I mean, that's not an easy trip. We don't charter, like Gonzaga and BYU. So, there's teams that are going through the motions to make this season a reality. I think it's disrespectful to them to say, yeah, you know what, we're just going to protect our two for sure bids and move on. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. I think it sends a wrong message to the teams.
Zach, for the record, and this is me speaking, my personal opinion, my first thought was the West Coast Conference tournament's over on Tuesday. So there are 10 days between the end of the tournament and the beginning of the NCAA tournament. So isn't there already a built-in buffer? I am for this. If the tournament were ending the Saturday or Sunday before on Selection Sunday, then I could understand. But I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that with a 10-day already built-in period, the West Coast Conference can't figure this thing out.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, and I know they're probably dealing with a lot of elements logistically that we're not even really hearing about. I don't know what the tournament's going to look like. We've all talked about it, on the last road trip. My friends and I on the road in the travel party, our trainer and support staff, we were jamming about, hey, what's this thing going to look like in March, and is this really going to happen? And I don't know the logistical hurdles that Aaron Velichko and everyone at the WCC is jumping through right now. So I can't really speak to that, but you're right, Spencer. I think that there's a built-in buffer period to be able to get the tournament in and to figure it out going into the NCAA tournament.
I want to go back to somewhat of the COVID discussion. BYU has already played, St. Mary's. They played San Francisco. We know what the area in all of California, but Northern California is, one of the areas that's been hit the hardest in the quarantines and shutdowns and things like that. Give everybody an idea of what all of the teams up in Northern California really have been dealing with over the last couple of months. Because you mentioned, having the stops and the starts, and it's not just affecting games, it's affecting practices. Give everybody an idea of what the last couple of months have been like in that area. Just
a smorgasbord of the unknown, and it goes county by county here. So, you look at where Pacific is in San Joaquin County. It's totally different than where Santa Clara County was, which had a complete and total shutdown to the point where Santa Clara had to completely move not only its games to Santa Cruz, but they had to stay in Santa Cruz. They couldn't come back to Santa Clara without a quarantine. So you're talking a very extreme case in the case of Santa Clara. And, here in San Joaquin County, they have gyms and barbershops and all that are still closed, but you could still, go in and out without having to quarantine. So it depends on where you are. And that's what makes it so hard. And it's not like Santa Clara County is, a good distance away. I mean, Santa Clara County, I can get there in 50 minutes to an hour. So it's really, really strange. And just depending on where you are, it can be one extreme or the other. So in terms of what they've had to deal with, it's kind of somewhere in that realm. And practices obviously have been very tough. You test positive, you can't practice. And, in the case of Santa Clara, you can't even practice at home, even if you don't have positive tests. So we're just we're trying to figure out, I guess, day by day. And that's what makes it so hard.
Zach, it's great to catch up with you, man, and we're thrilled that a game between Pacific and BYU is happening on Saturday, and just the ability of both staffs and schools and programs to make this come together. We wish you health and safety amidst a crazy time in Northern California, and congratulations again on the birth of your beautiful new baby girl.
Spencer, Jason, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And look forward to seeing you guys soon. Looking forward to Provo this weekend for sure.
Let's go, man. Zack Bayrouty, a class act with us on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, you know why, we show how.
Yeah.